Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's not really a very good morning. I fought this thing yesterday. It's losing spark. Like when I come out and start it up originally, it'll start and then die. It seems like it's running fine. You give it gas and it revs up, but it dies. And when it dies, it won't restart. I used that to determine that the exhaust was plugged because I started it up without the silencer on it, and it started. So it shut off, and I didn't think anything of that. I took the silencer off, cleaned out the inside of it, you saw all that, and put the silencer back on. Well, actually, I came out the next day and started it up again. It started, no problem. First kick, as a matter of fact. I then put the silencer back on it, and it wouldn't start. So I thought maybe the silencer was still plugged. I mean, I could blow through it, but there was a little resistance. So I used my propane torch and tried to burn out the inside of it and everything, and put it back on. Still wouldn't start. So I thought I'd better do some troubleshooting. So I took the spark plug out, kicked the engine over, and there was no spark. So I tore into that yesterday, and I was working on that all day yesterday. The spark is just not there. I tried a couple of different things I'll explain to you. I used a 12-volt battery and just shocked across here and ground with a 12-volt battery, and it creates a spark on the spark plug. Okay, that probably proves pretty much that the ignition coil up here is good. I measured the output on the black wire coming out of here, and the output was at whatever speed my drill would turn this over, about 9 volts RMS. What else did I do? I disconnected the condenser and just tied the wires together, the necessary wires, which are the points and the source coil, and it still didn't have spark. You can run that without the condenser, but it won't run as good, and it does funny things, interferes with your radio. And what else did I do? Of course, I cleaned the points. That was the first thing I did. And they're making good contact. You measure across them open, and they're measuring open without anything connected to them. And you measure across them closed, and they're measuring 0 ohms. So, what are we going to do today that's different? I got a feel, since it starts up first time, I could probably start it right now, I'm not gonna though, that it's something very minor, that just a little bit of heat through it and it opens up or does something. My GoPro just shuts off whenever it feels like it. So it could be the condenser is bad. I did measure it. I've got a my meter here will measure capacitance, and those condensers should be about 0.3 microfarads, and that's exactly what it measured here. You got to disconnect all the wires to it before you can do that, but I already had that done anyway. Golly. Well, today I'm going to take this. I'm thinking maybe it's a ground. It's a bad ground someplace that's not doing what it should. So I'm going to take the stator plate out. I'm going to take this heat shrink off of this and put some regular tubing on there. I got some, I'm pretty sure, that will fit that. Which means I'm going to have to take, there's a plug on the other end of this. Is 4-point or 6-point plug. I forget which. But anyway, I'll have to take that plug off so I can get the wires through the new casing. And I will make sure that it's all good and clean underneath where the screws go into the stator. And so we have a good ground there. I'll make sure all the wires are good in here. This is something that I didn't do. Somebody else did this. But it's heat shrink. It's not the kind of casing they use. What else? I'll ohm out all the wires. This one here goes in two directions. It goes up this way where it meets with the kill switch and the ignition switch. The ignition in this case, when you turn it off, it puts a ground on that to stop it from working. Once again, my camera shuts off. I got to check some settings on that, I think. Anyway, the kill switch puts a ground on, effectively it's putting a ground right on the points if all the wiring's good. And the ignition switch up here does the same thing. It puts a ground right on the points so that you can't fire. So we'll check those things, make sure they're good, and just look for any kind of bad ground. I'll take the ignition coil off and make sure that there's no paint underneath there. Hopefully you could see that. I don't know if you could or not. And hopefully we'll get this thing running. So I'm not going to show you all that. I told you what I was going to do. I may show you this when I take this casing off of this, take the heat shrink off of it, and rebuild that plug and wires. But as for the rest of it, scraping paint and that kind of stuff, I already told you I'm going to do it, so I will do it. So we'll see you in a bit. All right, I noticed one thing right here that I don't like, and that's these screws that have some kind of a coating on them that may be restricting their ability to conduct electricity. So I'm going to have to find me some different screws that are bare metal, even if I have to go find a couple of old rusty ones. And those appear to be Allen's, probably a number 4. All right, so I put a scratch in here so I can tell where to put the thing back, because I know it did run with it in this position, so the timing's not too far off. Of course, I'll go through and do a actual reset with the 2.8 millimeters or whatever it is, I'm not sure. after I get everything back together. But, you know, normally it'll run. Well, I went and checked my inventory, and I just happened to have a brand new, unused source coil for a DT250. I see no reason why I shouldn't just replace it, and if that doesn't fix the problem, why just put that one back in stock. I don't know, but that's what I'm gonna do. See you in a bit. Well, this heat shrink tubing is pretty heavy duty. Whoever did it did a pretty good job, I think. So I might just leave that alone. However, since I have this source coil, and it looks pretty good, I think I'm going to replace it. I could probably sell it for $100, but because they are pretty rare, I think. All right, there's two wires coming off of here. There's this wire that comes from inside the coil and goes to the condenser. Okay, so we got to unsolder that. Let's get our soldering iron. And see if we can just heat this up a little bit. I think I maybe squeezed it in there or something. There's that. Now this one, I'm not sure, but I don't think I get a good connection here. That's out. Now, this has to go in like this. So, we want the black wire to come up and go to the condenser. I did order a new condenser, but of course that'll take a while. I think I'm going to hit these with a little wire brush, and I'll be back. I'm going to get the Dremel out with a wire brush on it. Okay, let's check the resistance on this guy before we put it in the circuit. This black lead comes from the center of the coil and goes up to here, but we're going to check it right to here, and it's saying 1.6 ohms. Okay, let's just, for giggles, check this guy. This one, from here to here, checks 1.6 ohms. So I'd say it's good. We're going to put a new one in anyway. You know what? I'm going to go find me a little bit of flux to put on there to help clean that connection up. Well, this is interesting. Apparently this lid doesn't fit on here. Oh! We almost got a bird's nest in here. And get rid of that. Get just a little bit of this clean resin. Put it right on there. Wipe this off someplace. GoPro, start your recording. Never mind. All right, let's heat it up. Put just a little bit of solder in there. And I'll bet you we got a really good connection there. All right. I do believe that condenser is new. And I'm going to get me some flippers. My stool fell down because I lost my grip on it. All right, let's see what we can do here. All the extra that was on this one going to here, I'm going to clip it off. These little pliers, flat cut pliers, or dikes, I guess you call them, diagonal cutting pliers. I bought a 10-pack of them for like 26 bucks. And then I found out why they were only 26 bucks. Because you can't cut anything with them. You just about can't cut solder with them without putting a dent. Well, you can cut solder. I cut that little copper wire and it did okay. So let's, what do you say we put some tin into this lead? And to do that, we will, of course, let's clean this off. Where's the rag here? Take a little bit of resin, flux, put it on there. That's looking good. Put that under there. Solder iron. And it's nicely tinned. I hope you can still see all this. Okay. Now, what I really need is some solder wick to get rid of blobs of solder that are on there. So I can see what I'm doing. I guess and we're going to try and stick it right underneath that right there. But I don't want to get a hold of it too close because it'll just burn the shit out of me. Well, There, we got it through. Now we'll apply a little heat. Get the solder to flow. And it's all hooked up again. That's a good solid electrical connection. Alrighty. That. And we take our screwdriver and tighten these down. All right, that's good. And the other one is good as well. They both measure 1.6 ohms. Now, that connection could be cleaned up a bit, but let's check if we attach it to ground here and we go up here and we check on the black wire coming up from down below, we should see ground. 0.1 ohm. That's about the resistance of the wire. Now, if we leave that in there at 0.1 ohm and we open these points, we should see the capacitor. No, we should see the source coil, which we do. Close the points, we got ground. Open the points, we got the source coil. All right, if we open the points, and no, we can't check the capacitance because I hooked this up. I should have checked that first. We have, let's see, it may not, yeah, I think I got to take the source coil out of the picture to verify the capacitance. Hold on. There you are. All right. Now, let's see if we get any capacitance. 304 nanofarads, which means 0.3 microfarads, which is exactly what these things should be. So, capacitor is good. The source coil is good. The wire going up to the black wire here is good. Let's check it from this side, just to make sure. We should be good to here. Should be a short. Yes, it is. And when I pull that out, it should be 0, which it is. So, this guy is good. I'm going to rough up this with a little sandpaper where it makes contact here. Make sure that's good and clean. I'll do that to all three places. And now we'll put it back in. And all right, turn the meter off. Try and work this cable back through to where it belongs. All right, let's see what happens. Charlie's going to start barking. We know that. He doesn't like me kicking this motorcycle. He thinks I'm going to hurt it. Well, if it doesn't run, I might hurt it. So let's give it a kick and see what happens. See? Let's give it a choke. I don't know if there's any gas in it. Well, folks, I did have it running, and I came back and checked the spark. I tried to do it with a spark tester, an old spark tester I had that goes in line with the spark plug, but apparently that doesn't work anymore, so I'll have to get a new one. But right now, if you look carefully, you can see it sparking away there. So I think the spark problem is fixed. Now I did find that the main jet here was a 160 and the book calls for a 140. Now this bike was used for racing, motocross type racing, I guess, and so they may have made several changes to it to give it a little more power. One being probably had a different exhaust on it, because it didn't have any exhaust when I got it. I had to find these pieces and buy them. So I got to go someplace right now, but I'll be back on it tomorrow, and we'll see if we can't get this guy running. All right, let's try it once again. I got the silencer back in place here. It isn't tied down real hard yet. Now just quit, Charlie. It's not gonna hurt you. You know what? If I'd put that spark plug back in the spark plug hole, it's got a chance of starting. Doesn't it? It might start. It'll make a lot of noise. No, not as much as last time. If it starts at all. All right, Charlie, here we go. Off and on. There's an intermittent connection someplace. I'm pretty sure. What do you think? Tear the carburetor apart again? Or look for an intermittent connection?